Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. So we're taking a look at Batwoman and the showrunner and writer going, and it's basically an interview over the motivations behind having Batwoman come out as an openly gay superhero in the show. Now, I find this interesting because the whole out gay superhero, I don't really care about that. I couldn't care less about that. That's besides the point. But I find it interesting the motivation that the showrunner has to do this, and I think you guys will enjoy it as well. It's very interesting to see inside the minds of these people, because you've got to think, right? How much do these people get made? Or how much do these people make? Sorry, should I say? Quite a lot of money. And their thinking is very... It's like school level. It is genuinely playground level logic and reasoning. And I find it utterly baffling as to how these people have a job. This is the showrunner, the writer. And the motivation behind it is very, very shallow. So I thought we'd look into it together. And I know the headline to this video is probably a little bit provocative, but it's just to get you in. Okay, so, but we're not going to go rant and rant and rant. It's more of an analysis. Alright, so obviously it says, for the past 9 episodes of the CW's Batwoman, Gotham was only aware that billionaire Kate Kane was an out and proud lesbian, but that all changed during Sunday's episode when her superhero alter ego came out publicly. Now, I have linked above my review of this episode. It was terrible. It was really, really, really bad. And they break down what I broke down in my review. The episode begins with an attack that is thwarted in the nick of time by the city by Batwoman. A hacker basically has blocked off a train. The brakes don't work. And then they go on and threat that they're going to release personal information of everyone unless you give them a set amount of money. Now, Batwoman faces her biggest fear, being perceived as straight, as Gotham obsesses over her perceived romance with a cop, the man who saved her during the underground attack. That was written and pitched to the CW. First world problems, love. Oh no, you're a superhero, you've saved a bunch of people, but good God, how can they possibly think you're straight? Oh, it's so bad. Do you see what I mean? Unbelievable. Now, it continues, right? So here's the actual interview with the showrunner. How big of a deal is it to have a lesbian superhero character as the lead of their own TV show and to have her be openly gay? Now, her response to this is very, very surprising, and I'll explain why in a second, because they write something in the show that is hanging a lantern on the opposite of this. It's amazing. It's crazy. I'm just grateful to all the powers that be that did not stand in the way of that happening and just embraced it with me. It's kind of unreal. Now, in the show, our terrorist literally says to Batwoman, because bearing in mind she's a terrorist because she's gay and her parents found out that she's gay, so she's become a terrorist to grab a bunch of money and then flee Gotham. Right, that's the whole premise of this show. Super lame. Again, playground level logic and motivation. But that terrorist turns around to Batwoman and literally says, don't do the whole speech of it being getting better across the years. I know it's not going to be. I'm going to hide my girlfriends. Again, you're going to hide your in this society. Really? Come on. You're going to hide your girlfriends, and I'm going to have to settle with an ancillary character representing me on a TV show. That is literally words that they use. I'm paraphrasing. But that is the words that they use in the episode. And yet, the whole show is about a gay character, front and center. Shocking, right? Bizarre, bizarre, bizarre. And bearing in mind, remember, they've just been asked, you know, what did it mean to you to have a lesbian superhero in the lead of the show? And the showrunner said, yeah, great. I'm so happy that no one stood in the way. To which Hollywood Reporter goes, did the network have any concerns? No, not at all. Not at all. basically what happens is at the beginning of the season, you go in and you pitch to the studio and the network and say, hey, this is where we're going to go with the season. Eventually, Kate is going to realise that she is as comfortable and out of the closet as Kate. And then she puts on the suit and hides a huge part of who she is, when she can actually be doing good if she were truthful about who Batwoman is underneath the suit. She's going to come out and there are going to be consequences. The thing that any sort of storyteller wants is a situation where a character makes a decision and there are consequences, because that means more story and more drama. Just from a story point of view, it's a great idea, and then from just a unique point of view, it's like, great, let's be the first show that does it. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not really sure how or what Batwoman bangs it affects her ability to crime fight. Like, it just simply doesn't. It's an amazing thing that they built it up as some huge big reveal. I had genuinely just assumed that because the show is so very much on that leaning, I had genuinely assumed that it was just a given. Do you see what I mean? I don't think anyone watching this show thought that she was purposely hiding it. So it's very fascinating now from this outside perspective, having watched all the episodes to do the reviews for you, to then come into this one and go, oh no, apparently it's a big deal now. Like, I just thought it was a given. God. And then interestingly here, right, how will Batwoman's coming out impact her in the show? Obviously it reveals a huge piece of her identity, like what Luke was saying at the beginning. And this is what I mean, she even talks her way out of the logic of why she did it and why she didn't do it. Luke Fox, Lucius Fox's son, makes some very important logical leaps here. He says it's great to have this information out, this misinformation out, because it just confuses things. Now it's basically saying we just narrowed down the population quite a bit regarding who Batwoman is. That is one thing that will work its way into the story. So you're writing your character as basically having, you know, a bigger issue now moving forward. Fantastic. Like, I get it, but there's plenty of things that you can do without that part of the drama. The other thing is, and Vesper Fairchild says it in the voiceover, what happened to politics staying out of our superheroes? What will ultimately happen is that the GCPD, who is in charge of the Batlight, becomes a little conflicted about what statement they are making now when they put the light on. So Gotham Police Department is going to be conflicted moving forwards because Batwoman is gay. What? You heard it here first, guys, from the showrunner. From the showrunner. GCPD is going to have a problem with turning on the Batlight because she's a lesbian. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense. What a contrived pile of nonsense. Could we see Batwoman take on any LGBT-focused social issues within Gotham? Would they have been doing it in every bloody episode? Possibly, in the future. I think for now, what we will come to find out, she has bigger fish to fry, just in a personal sense, that will monopolise her time for the most part. But I think that definitely will be part of her story, while still dealing with all the interpersonal dynamics and drama with Alice. Now here's the clincher, here's the motivation. Ha! This episode clearly means a lot to you. What were your feelings while writing it? As I was writing it, I wanted to make sure we weren't writing something with an after-school special kind of vibe. That's why you had literal teenagers turning terrorists because they're gay. Okay then. I wanted to have a villain that was cool, edgy and scary. This is the teenager that turned terrorist because her parents found out she was gay. That's the one that's cool, edgy and scary. Okay. But also really relatable and human and just needed a role model. This is how we came up with Parker. And I was just thinking about my high school experience and how uncomfortable it was to navigate the dances. It's a real sore spot, I think, for kids who are confused about their sexuality or sexual orientation. Not now, it's not. So that felt like a good place to introduce Parker. It also, the thing is, the people writing this show are writing it from the perspective of 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. This is not the situation that's out there now. So it appears very, very, very heavy-handed and is way, way, way too much because it's missing the mark. This is literally perpetuating a self-oppressed feeling that these people have, and it's not there. It's not there in the real world anymore. The level of acceptance and you know, the acceptance and integration of this sort of of the populace nowadays, of all the wide varieties that everyone is at its literally its highest. So now writing this just seems super, super dumb. So she literally did it because she felt a bit off-put when she was a teenager. Ridiculous motivation. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's it, really. There's not all too much else. Like, how did Ruby feel about the episode? She said she cried while she was reading it. I know it meant a lot to her. Interestingly, there was a line in the script where Parker says it doesn't get better. And Kate says, you know, you're right, Parker. It doesn't get better. Ruby wrote to me and said, you know, a lot of people look up to this character and watch this show, and they don't want to hear the lead character say, you're right, it doesn't get better. That's because it's total garbage. Of course it gets better. What are you talking about? Ruby Rose, love. You're literally, you are an out proud, well, I don't know whether you're a lesbian or bisexual, but whatever, you're out and proud, and you're the front running actor of a TV show. Of course it gets better. Of course it gets better. How can you possibly tell me in this current situation that it does not? You total tit. Unbelievable. So we found a way to tweak it so it would be like it's still hard out there, but you will get better if you start to love yourself more and embrace yourself. It was personal to both of us, so we wanted to make sure we got it right. Oh my god. Basically, the showrunner is an out LGBTQ member. How did your coming out experience and those of your writers influence how Batwoman came out? So basically, the whole writers are LGBTQ, which is amazing. It goes to show why that is such a heavy focus. And I'm not saying that that's particularly bad, but it is bad when it's predominantly the focus, because you're not dealing with a superhero show anymore. You're dealing with an LGBTQ show. And the superhero part is literally just a vehicle for that narrative. But it becomes really boring after a while. I mean, it's boring from the get-go, to be fair. But I mean, anything that uses that as a vehicle, anything that uses any vehicle to push an agenda along, does get very, very boring after a while. Like, it should be the genre first, agendas woven in second, right? A great representation of this would be Star Trek: The Next Generation, right? The genre is space. It's not really a space opera, but it's space, isn't it, right? So you're out in space, it's sci-fi. That's the genre first. And then on the missions, you experience a great message and something happens, and we all learn and we get a little bit better. A great representation. Mind you, Star Trek sounds like it's going to be balls moving forwards, the Picard. But The Next Generation is a great representation of how to do an agenda, right, in your genre show, but not use the genre show as a vehicle solely for the agenda. So no, I thought you'd find this interesting. There's my personal thoughts. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comment section. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Stay up to date on the world of pop culture movie news by hitting the bell notification icon. Thanks so much for watching, the guys. If I missed the age, take care.